Hello guys, how are you? I hope you are well and good, and welcome to TCM with Imran. So today's topic is skeletal system. That is a structure and functions, how the skeletal system is, and what are the bones. Generally, we talk about it, and this is general anatomy we need to know about. So, what is the skeletal system? The skeletal system is the body's framework of the bones and the cartilage. Normally, each bone is a complex living organ that is made up of many cells and proteins and fibers, and also minerals. So, minerals are very important to the bones. That is where exactly the bone is made up of, with the calcium and other things. The skeleton act as a scaffold by the providing support and protection for the soft tissues, whenever you want to walk or abduct or adduct the hand or upper limbs or lower limbs, so the bones are very play a vital role in the body. So whenever the brain commands to the body that if you want to abduct or adduct the muscles, so you need a support, like kind of a strong thing, right? So that is why the bone is very important in the body. The skeletal system also provides attachments points for the muscles to allow movements at the joints. So it connects to each joints, like you can see here. So we have different kinds of joints that I'll tell you later. So there, for example, this is a joint where exactly the uh, by the bicep muscles are there. These are the humerus and ulna and radius. This is the joint, one joint, and this is the shoulder joint, and this is the hip joint, and this is the knee joint. So these are the joints which is connected to, which help in flexing the upper limb and lower limb or anything. So you need a joint, some kind of flexibility, right? So if you wanna do any kind of motor work, so joint is very important. That is why it is plays very vital role in the body. And finally, skeleton grows throughout the childhood and provides the framework for the rest of the body to grow along with it. So generally in the adult, we have a 206 bones if you calculate normally, but in the in the childhood, infants, they have 300 bones normally. So when again it comes, whenever they grows up, and it fuses, the bone fuses to each other, and it will decrease to 206 bones. So bones are arranged into two major divisions normally. So functions, you know the functions, how it works: supports, protect and movement, mineral storage and blood cell formation, energy storage. So bones are very important in basically it gives the shape and structure of the body, and guards a vital organ, for example hearts and lungs for the thoracic cage. And it will the thoracic cage actually it works as a protector for the internal viscera. So that is why it is very important. And movement also, as I said, it works as a levers to for muscles. So whenever you want to lift anything, so the bones are very essential to handle the weight or anything. So most of the things are weight is uh, handled by the bones only. So that is very important. Blood cell formation, so red blood cell or WBC or anything in the spinal cord, whatever the uh, things are made of, blood cells are forming. So the bone marrow is very important in that. So in the spinal cord, that is why bone formation is essential. Blood cell formation. Energy storage, a fat stored in the yellow marrow. So we have a red bone marrow and yellow bone marrow. That is a deep discussion actually. So just remember, there is a white bone, that is yellow bone marrow, and red bone marrow. So the divisions, normally we have a two different divisions. That is a axial skeletal system, one is appendicular skeletal system. So in the axial skeletal system, basically 80 bones are there in the skull. Hyoid, it includes where the skull, hyoid, auditory ossicles, which means the ear ossicles, ribs, sternum and vertebral column. So what exactly these are? We know this is a skull, and this is the thoracic cage, and this is spinal cord, the whole spinal cord. cervical, thoracic, and lumbar, and also the sacrum and coccyx. This include axial skeleton and appendicular, upper limb, lower limb. These are the upper limbs, and these are the lower limbs, and this is the pectoral girdle and shoulder girdle. Generally, you remember the middle of the things, as you can see here. This is the pink one. This pink one includes axial skeleton, and this blue one includes appendicular skeletons. That means these are non-movable bones. You can remember like this also. Of course, the head can be moved. This ribs, mild motility it will be there, but then too, we cannot move more as upper limbs and lower limbs. You can remember like this: axial skeleton and appendicular skeleton more flexible, like legs. We have a this lumbar region. We can rotate our hip, and these are the shoulder girdle, so we can rotate our shoulder and shoulder joints. So this is how we can remember the appendicular and axial skeleton. Normally axial skeleton has 80 bones, that is a skull, vertebral column, and ribs and sternum. So and 126 bones in the appendicular skeleton. Each limb has a 30 bones. We can calculate later. So we know the names, right? So skull, this is a skull, and this is a clavicle, and we can call as a beauty bone also. And this is a scapula, the shoulder blade, we can say. And this is a humerus. Humerus means the hand, the bone, like a femur, it is a humerus. So these both are, you can uh, correlate both the things. This is a ulna and radius. We have two bones like fibula and tibia, like ulna, radius are also there. Like pelvis, these are the pelvis. This is a belt girdle also, we can say. So femur, the longest bone in the body is called femur. And patella is the only one bone. This is a patella, two bones, like two, both the limbs we have a two bone. Patella will be only one. Tibia and fibula, and tarsal, metatarsal, phalanges. So these are general terminology you have to remember. Axial skeleton. So in the skull, normally we have 22 bones that are fused together, except for the mandible. These 21 fused bones are separated in children to allow the skull and brain to grow. So we have the sutures, right? For the infants, they are not fused actually. Whenever the child is born, the newborn baby, after that it will fuse. That is why you have to take care of the children properly whenever, especially at the head region. So but fuse to give added strength and protection as an adult. The mandible remains as a movable jaw bone and forms the only movable joint in the skull with the temporal bone. So whenever we speak about the skull, right, we'll discuss later that skull, how many bones are there. Generally I'll tell you. So the mandible is the only bone which is movable in the skull, so with including the temporal region. So only remember, this is mandible. This is the mandible, what we eat, right? The movable bone is called mandible. So these are all fused bones. That means it has a divisions, but it won't move. Actually the bones won't move of the skull. It is fixed bones. The bones of the superior portion of the skull are known as the cranium. Superior portions, that means the upwards, these are the superior portions. This is the cranium, where the brain exactly is in the cavity is located, are also known as cranium. Protect the brain from the damage. So this is the cranium. This is the cranium. The bones of the inferior and anterior portion of the skull are known as facial bones and supports the eye and nose and mouth. So normally these frontal bones, like facial bones, are called as anterior portion facial bones normally. So supports the eye. So you know this inner canthus and outer canthus and sesamoid bones and this mandible and zygomatic bone. These are all facial bones. So just remember only general names of the facial bones. Whenever you want to locate anything, any diagnosis purpose, you have to know the where exactly the which bone is located at the face region. So you have to remember. So I just messed up with this skull. Very beautiful skull. So you can see here. So these are the facial bones. So after that, hyoid bone has only one bone at the thyroid gland is there. I'll tell you about hyoid bone. The hyoid bone is a small U-shaped bone, like it is found inferior to the mandible. This is the mandible, right? Inferiorly below the mandible, you can find the hyoid bone. The hyoid bone is the only bone in the body that does not form a joint with the other bone. So it is not connected with any bone. It is a floating bone. Like you can see the hyoid bone, you can touch yourself, you can move right and left, upward and downward, just mildly. You can touch your hyoid bone. Exactly, you can see that the hyoid function is to help hold the trachea open and form the bony connection for the tongue and muscles. So it is connected to the some kind of muscles, like it help in trachea. You know the trachea, right? It's like pipes, the windpipe trachea, the lungs pipe is there. So it is supports that. Then the malleus incarnate stapes. These are the ossicles of the ear. So we have the malleus inca stapes. These are the small tiny bones in the ear ossicles. So auditory ossicles also we can say. The smallest bone in the body found in the small cavity inside the temporal bone. They serve to transmit the amplify and sound from the eardrum to the inner ear. So they help in transform the waves into the sound, for to the signal to the brain. So what exactly the person is saying from the sound waves. So it helps like that. So ear ossicles are very important. And the vertebrae play a major role. The 26 vertebrae from the vertebral column, so of the body, human body, they are named as a cervical, thoracic, lumbar and sacrum coccyx. So this is a cervical, and this is a thoracic, and this is a lumbar and sacrum and coccyx. These are the vertebrae. Each vertebrae, and like vertebra, if you take about one vertebra, there are many parts in the vertebra. So whole thing you can join together, you can call as a vertebra. In the vertebra we have a spinous process, intervertebral disc, and this one transfer process. Many things are there. If you discuss the deep. So just remember, there is a cervical has a 7 vertebra, and thoracic has a 12 vertebrae, and lumbar has a 5 vertebrae, and sacrum has a 1 vertebra, and coccyx and 1 vertebra. That is a tailbone actually. Sacrum is generally a fused bones. You can see this 1 2 3 4 S1 S2 S3 S4 S5. So 5 are there. We cannot we can also say S1 S2 S3, but it is fused bone. We can consider it as a fused bone, one bone only. So that is a tailbone. This is a tailbone that is called as coccyx. So these are the this one thoracic cage we can call as. With the exception of the singular sacrum and coccyx, each vertebra is named for the first letter of its region and its position along the superior inferior axis. For example, the most superior thoracic vertebra is called T1 and the most inferior is called T12. So generally the each vertebra is named like 1 2 3 4. You can number C1 cervical 1, cervical 2, cervical 3. So cervical 3, and this one T1, T2, T3, T4, like that. Like 12 vertebrae are there. For thoracic T, cervical C, and sacrum S. So coccyx is one bone, that is a tailbone, we know that. And ribs and the sternum. This is a sternum, and these are the ribs. So each is connected to the spinal cord. So in here also we have some true ribs and false ribs, floating ribs. So that we discuss later. So generally you remember we have the ribs and sternum and manubrium too. These are the fused bones. Only one bone, sternum. There are 12 pairs of ribs of together with the sternum form the rib cage of thoracic region. So 12 pairs, that means 12, 12, 24, 24 are there. So each connected to each other to the spinal cord. True ribs because they are connected the thoracic vertebra directly to the sternum through their own band of costal cartilage. These are the costal cartilage which is connected to the ribs, and the ribs are connected to the spinal cord. The spinal cord is directly which is connected to the ribs are called true ribs, which is not connected directly. For example, this rib is there, the last rib, for example 12, 10, 9. These three ribs are connected to one rib. So these three ribs are directly not connected to the costal cartilage, and which are connected to the spinal cord, which are also called as false ribs. And other two ribs are like floating ribs, that is connected to the spinal cord but not connected to the this one, like rib cage. The floating ribs because they are not have any cartilage attachment to the sternum. So these are sternum, right? The cartilages are not there to the floating ribs, and ribs so other ribs are connected with the cartilage, and then other two ribs are not connected to the cartilage. That is why it is called as a false ribs, floating ribs, sorry. And when we come to this one, appendicular skeleton, there are upper limbs, lower limbs, and shoulder girdle, and hip pelvic girdle. We can see here in the red color, whatever you can see is appendicular skeleton. The pectoral girdle connect the upper limb and arms to the axial skeleton, consist of left and right clavicles and left and right scapulas. So these are the scapulas, and these are the humerus, ulnar, radius, carpals, metacarpal, and phalanges. Each limb have a 30 bones, 30, 30, 60, and also the clavicle if we include, and this one 30, 30. Totally 126 bones are there normally. So you can read here that leg, lower limbs are thighs, legs, feet, etc. So general names you can see here. So pelvic girdle, we know that the femur, hip joint, and all connects to the lower limb. Pelvic girdle is generally connected to the lower limb, and shoulder girdle is connected to the upper limbs. So these are the general anatomy, so you can remember like this. And thank you guys. Whenever I take other anatomy classes, like we can discuss about the deep structure of the bones and microscopic structure of the bones, what exactly bone is made up of. Each we take each bone, and we can discuss about that. Thank you guys, and thank you for your patience.